Hi everyone, it's Miss Celeste, and welcome back to week 3, part 10. This week we're going to be focusing on the Reggio philosophy, and I'm just going to share some insight of the classroom, what Reggio philosophy is, and just a little insight into Reggio, so you can, really have some deep understanding of what it is. And if any of you do work in a Reggio environment, I'd love to hear more at our live session, just to kind of see how that experience is going. Before we get started, I am just going to go through some reminders of just making sure we're reading our books and spending some time on the videos, doing our discussion thread, and making sure that we are responding to our peers consistently throughout the week. And also, I want to know how your newsletters are going. I hope those are you're having fun with Canva and being creative. There's so much great resources there with Canva. And if you have any questions in regards to newsletters, suggestions, I'm here to support you, so just let me know. And then Sunday we have our NAEYC standards essay that is due, and I hope that's coming along and that you've started that and are just kind of learning a lot if you are aware of the standards. I am just focusing on a few of the standards in our writing this week, and I hope to get some insight of how you utilize those in the classroom, how it's going. So I'm really excited to read into your classroom and what those standards mean to you. And then in addition, we have our teaching hours and reflection and our live session reflection that is due on Sunday. Again, the live session reflection is extra credit, so you don't need to do that if you do not want to, but I do encourage you to submit that. All right, so week 3, course objective 10. So again, we are more than halfway through our course at this point. So congratulations to all of you and all your efforts, and thank you for spending your time with me through these videos. I really appreciate that. And also the feedback, and I hope that these have been helpful just to kind of dive into specifically each course objective in more detail. So today, the goal is really just to have you be able to demonstrate your understanding of Reggio Emilia philosophy. And my question to reflect on to you is, describe the Reggio classroom. Have you been in a Reggio environment? Have you taught in a Reggio environment? Just have you heard of it just in general through conversations of other philosophies, maybe other courses, etc. So, I just really want you to really dive deep into understanding many different philosophies. And that's why, it's really important for me to kind of cover a lot of the different philosophies, because as a teacher, there are going to be moments that parents will look to you for some advice or some understanding, maybe comparing different philosophies or just a little bit more insight of really what they represent, just to find what really meets their child's needs. And so you are a great resource for that. And so I really want to build upon your knowledge and get you some information so you can talk about the Reggio philosophy. So firstly, we're just going to kind of do a brief overview. So Reggio Emilia is a child-directed approach and views children as active participants in the learning process. So they are all about having the children come along the journey and be a part of their learning, and also facilitate choices, communication, relationships. The teacher's role is really to be a contributor to the knowledge by building on a child's idea to help the child create new knowledge. We really want to empower the creativeness of children, the collaboration that other children bring, and build upon that knowledge and create new knowledge and new discoveries as they are learning. You know, the environment really stresses a lot of you know, photograph type work, or they really love to document children's work. You in a classroom, you won't see a lot of color, although, you know, color is great, but they really want the child's work to stand out, so they really focus on that aspect. And that's why in Reggio classrooms you'll see less on the walls, for an example, and more work on the shelves, and more work of the children, of what they've done. That they really, you know, love a lot of parent involvement, and the parents, you know, efforts and, you know, contributes a lot to the classroom. And it is a vital component to this approach, and not only just in the classroom, but also continuing it at home and incorporating what they learn from school to bringing it to home. So kind of keeping that consistency in both environments is very important part of this philosophy. Here are some just examples of a classroom. As you can see, they're a little different, but they definitely have a lot of natural wood. They have areas that they can have on the floor or at tables. A lot of floor work, a lot of plant life. And as I mentioned, color is wonderful, but neutral backgrounds lets the work of the children stand out. Teachers using this approach have an understanding of Vygotsky and Piaget and Dewey's approach. So they all kind of come together in understanding. And again, that's why I am kind of touching on a lot of these theories and philosophies that, you know, that we will at some point have to kind of connect together. And that's why I feel like they're so important. Again, they, you know, they really focus on the social aspect in Reggio classrooms and allowing children to be actively involved in their education. So they really want that, you know, collaboration, play, imagination to come to life, and find new ways of doing things through going through the process. Not necessarily getting an answer from a teacher, but working through it and finding that answer on your own. And also another point is a Reggio-inspired teacher seeks to create a space that supports children in all forms of development. So in a classroom, again, depending on the age, you know, you definitely will see them supporting all the developmental domains. And for an example, they'll have a sensory area, they'll have a creative area where children can kind of use their imagination. One example that kind of comes to my mind is in our classroom, to kind of focus on that creativeness. I would set up a table and I would have different, every day I would change it up and have different material there for them to use, such as maybe I'll have paper one day. So I have paper, glue, maybe some glitter or confetti, pieces of paper, different shapes, just anything really I had. And then they had to utilize what I had on the table to then create a masterpiece. So it wasn't there to make a lot of sense. It was to make a lot of sense to the child and whatever they're creating. And they really enjoyed that. So every day they're really excited to have that creative station set up to see what I had out, you know, for the day. And you know, because it was ever changing, it was just very fun, and they really, really looked forward to that. And I have so many other objects that I would put out for them to use and color with, you know, paint with, you know, it can go on and on. But I would encourage that kind of creative station in your classroom, just to kind of get them to be creative and create their own masterpiece of what they want to create. I am going to share a little video in more detail about Reggio Emilia, its history, where it comes from, and let's enjoy.
In response to the tragedy of World War II, people from the town Reggio Emilia developed a new model of education. War ought to never happen again. Led by Loris Malaguzzi, a teacher, their idea was to enhance a child's learning through real-life experiences instead of a fixed curriculum, so that each child develops a love for discovery, forms a personality of their own, and learns to respect others. Land, money, food, and skills for the first preschool were provided by the community. The Reggio Emilia approach is based on the philosophy of an image of a child. All children are viewed full of potential, with an innate sense of curiosity and endless imagination. They are creative, capable of constructing their own learning, and they have a natural interest to explore. While they follow their own interests, they also stay connected with others. Adults nurture their learning by providing a rich environment and support. Instead of a one-size-fits-all curriculum, Reggio Emilia uses a child-centered approach and project-based learning. Projects can emerge anytime, for example, during play. Teachers can observe and create opportunities for new learning at a specific instance. For example, by opening up new environments, letting children raise thought-provoking questions, or by inviting others to collaborate. After an intervention, the children take control and progress independently until the project is finished and can be shared with others. Throughout a project, children naturally embody the spirit of researchers, risk takers, designers, and explorers. They make hypotheses, try new things, investigate, play, and imagine. To progress, the explorers raise the questions, the researchers give feedback, and the designers demonstrate ideas and prototypes. Lastly, they all turn their theories into reality and construct experiments together. The learning becomes social, with endless ways to solve specific problems. To promote the development of creativity, teachers step aside and let mistakes happen. The conflicts that can follow nurture their social skills, because conflicts teach children to speak, to listen, to argue, and to discuss. Then learn to accept different opinions and to respect others for who they are. If two kids discuss a problem, a third can have an idea, and the entire group learns the value of teamwork. Teachers document projects through pictures, videos, or written observations. The learnings become visible in photographs, drawings, or sculptures. Ideas, quotes, and transcripts of conversations are put onto the walls. The children can later revisit their achievements, see projects that were left unfinished, and learn that failure is part of the path to progress. They build confidence in their own abilities. But teachers aren't instructors. Instead, they are companions in the child's own journey of discovery. They can introduce books, show new tools, or offer entirely new perspectives. However, they always remain mindful not to take over the constructive learning process, knowing that this limits a child's endless imagination and motivation. The children are fully in charge and develop a sense of ownership of their own progress, the foundation for a love for lifelong learning. Malaguzzi believed that there are 100 languages children can use to express themselves. They paint, sculpt, drum, whisper, and hark. They build, listen, speak, or sing and dance. And they play, which Einstein allegedly said is the highest form of research. Children learn from adults, other students, the environment, which is regarded as the third teacher. Rich in materials, the space is designed to spark curiosity, creation, and discovery. Ideally, there is an open kitchen and big windows so the children can see what's happening outside, just like at an Italian town square, a piazza, where we can observe the lives of other members of our community. Parents are regarded as the last part of this education. To deepen their knowledge of a child-centered education, they are encouraged to learn from and with teachers and children. So when the children come home after school, They can continue to be researchers, risk takers, and explorers. Malaguzzi once said, "Stand aside for a while and leave room for learning. Observe carefully what children do, and then, if you have understood well, perhaps teaching will be different from before." Maybe one day our small researchers and explorers will grow into the big inventors and great explorers.
So the ratio, philosophy really emphasizes um, the social aspect, the collaboration, and really just, that parent involvement, just really working through, the process to discover all the possibilities, problem solving, so they can really find all the answers to many of their questions is all about working through the process. And I think that's so wonderful, um, because when children, or any of us for that matter, when we spend time, uh, in the discovery process and finding why things are happening or why things are done a certain way, I just feel like the discoveries have just a different meaning, because we just have spent so much time in the process. And that's what I love to empower in children in the classroom, because I really want them to apply that to many areas of their learning. And it becomes something that they enjoy doing instead of just finding the answer or someone just telling them what it is, but really enjoying the process of discovery. Next, we're just going to go through just some teacher reminders, in the classroom, just as a whole, not necessarily just in a Reggio environment. But these were just some takeaways that I really think are meaningful for us to just be mindful about. So such as like being observing the classroom, taking the time to observe children often, preferably every day, have moments of the day that you're able to kind of look back and view what their progress is, what they're working on, what sensitive periods are happening, and just really noting all of that information, because that's really going to be their story, right? At how they started to how they're finishing, especially when you're in those parent teacher conferences, when you're discussing different areas with the parents. It's important to kind of have that dialogue of progress, because it just brings so much meaningfulness to all the accomplishments that they're doing. So observe often, take lots of notes, track the growth. Again, this is just making sure that the children are completing the, on track with their milestones and learning to their fullest potential. And if there's any areas of concern, that, those conversations are had and supported, because again, when those are approached very early, children can just get the best support that they can from the start. Encourage curiosity, encourage children to try new things and just be curious with their abilities, and that goes with all different areas, not just trying new material work, but even new foods. It really is all about how you introduce it, how fun it is, because it really makes all that difference. I have a toddler at home, and he's very picky with food. So I really try to change the way I introduce new foods and incorporate all of us eating together, and just the funness behind new foods and it not being so scary. So again, many different approaches to that, but you have to really find what works for each child. Again, just being involved, but not taking away from the child's leadership. So I'm a big, strong believer of letting a child lead their learning, letting a child work through a challenge, and not necessarily directing them, but yet supporting them, when they need that support, of course. But I really focus on, children building that confidence, that independence to make choices, to know how to make choices, so having that involvement in the classroom with each child, um, equally is very important. So you kind of know when to support them, and also empower them, of course, right, in their moments. Another area would be involve the parents, get the parents in the classroom, let them see parts of the day, because the more that they're a part of the day, the more that they have understanding to many areas that are happening. Say you're writing in a newsletter, say you're just having conversations openly, they know what you're talking about, and they also know what their child needs. And so when they're involved in the environment, they just have more understanding to what's happening, what's going on, and also just build a good relationship with the teacher, because we all know that that helps, and that's something that we need to do with all our parents, of creating that trusting and caring relationship with every family member that comes into our classroom. And then lastly would be, allowing for children to build upon their skills by doing. So again, letting them go through the process, letting them change the direction if needed, but just letting them choose, because that's going to really get them to be creative in their thought, be creative in their solutions, and really get them to think of why maybe this isn't working, but this will, so it just kind of opens up, and allows their brain to just build more connections as they grow and learn. And children are very powerful, they're very ambitious, they're very creative, they're very beautiful, and they're definitely very full of potential, but we really have to set up the environment where they're able to explore and learn more about themselves, and that's really what I want to encourage here. Lastly, I just want to say thank you so much. I hope this video has been super helpful in the Reggio philosophy, and just some tips overall of what we can do to support children. Our next step would be part 11 of week 3. So again, we are going along that journey. And again, I appreciate your time, and please reach out if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.